Welcome to our first Feds in Motion Challenge Wellness Wednesday event of 2023. This is the first of 5 weeks of Wednesday webinars. I'm Robin Keogh, and I'm the Executive Director of the Federal Employee Education and Assistance Fund, also known as FEA. We are the only charity by and for civilian, federal, and postal employees, and we thank you for joining us today. As I mentioned, Wellness Wednesdays are part of the Feds in Motion Challenge, which is an annual event that supports FEA's mission to help feds and their families. Your participation allows us to do things like offer assistance after a hurricane damages homes, make a rent payment for someone financially stressed after an illness leads to leave without pay, or offer free tutoring for a middle schooler who's struggling with new math concepts. You can learn more about all our programs at FEA.org. That's FEEA.org. As we celebrate 37 years with our Feds Helping Feds community, it is clearer than ever that it takes a village. This village of federal employees, volunteers, supporters, and sponsors to make our work possible. So I want to thank all of the challenge participants joining us today, other supporters who are here with us, and especially today's platinum sponsor, Blue Cross Blue Shield. Our sponsor host today, Danita Andrews, the Managing Director, OPM and Community Relations at the Blue Cross Blue Shield Association. And they have generously supported FEA and Feds for our entire 37 years. Blue Cross has been there for us at every major disaster we've faced, from hurricanes and wildfires to 9/11 and the longest government shutdown in history, while also supporting our everyday hardship loans, tutoring, and 100 of our annual scholarships. Danita and her colleagues assist and encourage us personally every single day. And I can't say enough good things about her and the rest of the crew at Blue Cross.
So once again, Blue Cross Blue Shield Association Federal Employee Program is really happy to sponsor the FEA Feds in Motion Challenge. We have been with this challenge for 3 years, and I'd like to share that we have a team in our office that participates in the challenge as well. And there is definitely healthy competition there. I won't tell you all the things that go on, but we're really excited to be a sponsor. We're also excited because of the fact that we are a health insurance company and health and wellness is our primary focus. This Feds in Motion Challenge, getting you all moving, getting your heart rates up, et cetera. And the Wellness Wednesdays feature during this challenge is really important to us as well. It's right in line with what is meaningful for us when we consider how we support federal employees in their health and well-being. So we thank FEA for giving us the opportunity to again sponsor and also for allowing us to host alongside them the Wellness Wednesday feature. And we look forward to hearing what Dr. McCartney has to share. We are excited. I'm not a runner because of a broken bone in my foot, but if I could run, I definitely would. And it's something that I may aspire to if I get this surgery someday. But very excited to hear what she has to say for beginners and for those more advanced later. Thanks, Robin.
Thank you, Danita. All right, now it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Kiersten McCartney. She is a runner, athlete, and scientist who is captivated by the spirit of sport and the dedication needed to excel at any physical level. She's found a niche in combining her love of sport with her intense curiosity about the science of the human body, working to explore our individual potentials no matter what our beginning is. Today, she's going to help us achieve our sport, health, and fitness goals. Kiersten?
Thanks so much to FEA, Blue Cross Blue Shield for having me. I'm really excited to be here with you guys. So this first one, I'm just going to focus in on kind of building a beginners runners program. Just to give you a brief background on myself. So I have been a runner. My mom jokes that I came out running and I never stopped. So I started kind of running in 5th grade, ran all through high school, in college, kind of continued on that post-college. And I'm currently a physical therapist. I live in Delaware. And I really actually work with a lot of different people who have a lot of different abilities. So I myself have kind of been an athlete, and you can see different phases of me running, but I also work with a lot of people who have disabilities. So I work with people who have limb loss, people who use wheelchairs, maybe from a spinal cord injury, spina bifida, I've also worked with people who have stroke or Parkinson's disease. And so I really just love figuring out what is someone's starting point and where do they want to go and how do we kind of merge those things to build a path together. So my goal with this initial presentation today is to kind of talk you through the basics, whether you're starting a new running program for the first time, or if you're looking to kind of get back into it. So like Danita, once, if you have that surgery and decide to come back to running, how do we start up in a way that's going to be something that can be a habit that you can have for a long time? So where to start? The best place is to just find where your feet are, and that's where I want you to start. You also are going to have a pair of running shoes. Now, some of you may have chuckled at this, or it was a bad joke, but in reality with running, this is really what you need. Wherever your feet are is where you can start. I'm here today to maybe pull away some barriers that may be preventing you from starting your own program. So wherever your feet are with a pair of running shoes on, you can get out the door and you can get your run in. Some basics that I'll run through of how you can build your own running program. And then I'll take you through a 2-week schedule that I've built for an athlete who was starting more of a beginner program to kind of pull it all together. So the biggest one is to kind of know your starting line. Short is sweet. You want to build in different rest days. Slow is smooth, and smooth is strong. Consistency is key. It's also king and queen, so it rules the entire kingdom. So it's important for us to find that consistency. Accountability is going to bring you farther, and it's going to bring you farther together. And you want to keep it fun. So I'm going to dive into each of these a little bit further now. So the biggest one is just kind of to know your starting line. This is something that we all have to do. I took a step back from training over the past 2 years. I had been running about 2 marathons a year for about 4 or 5 years. And I hit the 2019 New York City Marathon and I said, no marathons in 2020. And I think I willed that a little bit too hard because I ended marathons for everybody in 2020. But all jokes aside, I'm kind of building back into running now, but it's important for me to not compare myself to where I was when I was training those. So I know right now my running capacity isn't where it was in 2019. So I have to figure out, okay, Kiersten, like where are we now and how can we start? So sometimes this means, checking a little bit of an ego at the door, but also just being realistic about, hey, this is where I am. I have this goal to start running. Anyone can start. So it doesn't matter where you are, you can start. The important part is to understand where you are so you can kind of take those first steps that can build into, a longer time that you're able to stick to this goal of yours. How do we start, right? So you know where your starting line is, you kind of know this is where my fitness is, this is how active I've been over the past, 6 months. So this is where I think I can start. Well, how do I start? Short is sweet. So a lot of times the biggest mistake that beginner runners can make is it's too much too soon. And that can lead to burnout, fatigue, kind of feeling like you can't keep up with this goal that you set. It can lead to discouragement. And so short is the best way. So I want you to think about like, what's the length of time that if I said, go run this, you'd be like, that's all I have to do. Like, of course I can do that. So whether that's 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 minute, find that kind of short time that I can accomplish this. And that's where you want to start. Start with that length. And that's all you have to commit to today. We'll build over time, but you want to be able to have that first day be a success. And this is how you can set yourself up for success. Next, in the beginning time is, you want to add in rest day. This is going to allow your body to recover, right? So if we're starting a new running program, your body's maybe not used to getting out for a run or a run walk. And if we, again, do too much too soon, that again, injury, fatigue, feeling discouraged, right? So how do we prevent that? Build in rest days, right? So maybe you start, and I'll walk you through this with, I'm going to go out for 10 minutes today. Tomorrow, I'm not going to run. I'm going to take that day. Maybe I go for a walk, maybe I don't. And then the day after that, I'm going out for another 10 minutes. This is going to help you kind of build that consistency into your schedule. A key point of this, adding in rest days though, right? So we don't want these rest days to accumulate one after the other. A hint that I will tell people is never miss 2 days in a row, right? So even if, let's say, you've built yourself up where you're running for 2 days, you're off for 1 day, running for 2 days, off for 1 day, and that's your schedule, right? It's okay to take that one off day, right? Or we have our 2 run days. Let's say the first run you go for, but the second run you have to miss. Instead of taking your scheduled rest day, that's the day you want to go for a run, right? Because we don't want to miss 2 days in a row We want to get back onto building our consistency, being able to stick to our schedule, staying in line with our goals. So kind of in the beginning, especially if this is a really new habit for you, just do what you can to not miss 2 days in a row. And again, kind of like I said, everyone misses days. Every single person I have ever worked with, all the way up to people who are getting Olympic, trials qualifying times in the marathon, everyone misses a day that was unscheduled. And that's okay. It's life. We're human. It's going to happen. The key is to just move on and don't miss 2 in a row. The next one is slow is smooth, smooth is strong. And so a lot of times runners are asked, how do I know what pace to run? If you're starting a beginning plan, the best thing that you can do is run at a pace that you would be able to have a conversation with a friend. Later on, I'll discuss kind of how we can use the talk test to know the effort that we're giving. But kind of in the beginning, you want to be able to talk to someone. You shouldn't be going so fast that you can only get out one word or maybe a couple words. Really making sure that we could talk and run at the same time. That's going to be something that's going to help you kind of build your capacity and not let yourself, again, go out too fast, too strong, and then feel like, you're dying. And then I've said this, but I'll say it again, consistency really does rule all. And so there's a concept that I've talked to a lot of different athletes and patients that I've worked with before, where we kind of talk about 1% every day. And some of you may have heard about this concept before, where it's, you want to work to make yourself better just by 1%. That's all we're asking is 1% every day. I want you to work to get better. And so if you're starting a running goal, right, that could be today I got out and I went out for my 10 minutes, right? Tomorrow I'm going to get out. Maybe you're going out for 11 minutes, or maybe you're doing your 10 minutes again, but you're making sure that you're adding in that one new stretch or that one new drill before you go out for your run. So we're not asking, to do everything at once. That, we want to set up for success. So just a little bit every day can build you. Over time, I took this from jamesclear.com, and he's kind of looked at this, how we can progressively improve. So 1% really feels like nothing, right? On the day-to-day, 1%, you're not going to feel it. You may not notice it. You may not notice it even week to week. But when you get to the end of a month where you've been consistent over time and you can look back at the month that you just did, think about how proud, right, you are to see how far you've come in that 1 month. This graph shows how much you can improve over the course of a year if you only improve 1% every day. And so you can kind of see this top line here. We can improve by almost 38% if you just give a little bit every day. So always think about, as you're building your running program, how can I just take these small bite-sized pieces to help myself make this a habit, make this a routine for myself. The next pieces I like to talk about are friends and fun. So everything is better with friends. I have met lifelong friends through running and through sport. I think it's a great way to connect with different people in your community. It's maybe a way to build a bond with other people. I have a good group of girlfriends that I met through a running club in Chicago. And we used to talk that we became such fast friends because there's not much else you do when you're stuck with each other for 18 miles on a Saturday morning. So having friends and having people there can really help not only make the process more fun, but have it so that someone's holding you accountable, right? You wake up, you don't really feel like going out, you're not sure, it was a long day at work, you don't want to go to the gym, right? But your friend is waiting for you. And you guys said you were going to meet at 5:30. Well, you got to show up at 5:30 so that you can be there to run. And so when you're starting to really build this initial schedule of getting into the habit of building a beginner running program, I want you to think about, what are some tools that I can use to help me be more successful? This is another one. It doesn't mean that you have to run with somebody every day, but if you think like, okay, like I'm going to try and commit to 3 days of running a week, on one of those days, is there a local run group near you that you could join and have people to go see and be with? Do any of your coworkers want to run or walk or kind of get into that same habit? And you could do it right at the end of the workday, right? So, before you're heading home, could you do that? Do you have a friend or a family member, maybe a neighbor who wants to join you on this? And again, you just commit to 1 day. Those girls that I told you that I met in Chicago, we met because we were training for the Boston Marathon. But once the marathon was done in April, there was no consistent time that we were forced to be with one another during our typical, training runs. And that led a lot of us to like, hey, I'll see you Monday morning. Like, let's meet at Monday at 6 before work. We'll meet here. And it became our little Monday run crew. And that built, you know, because we all joined a run club, we didn't know each other. And that really helped facilitate us not only during the marathon training, but kind of after, and to build community that way too. And then make it fun, right? So, you know, there's a lot of different reasons why you might be deciding to build this new habit, but make it fun. Can you explore a new street near you? Is there a path you've never been down before? Is there a place that you've wanted to explore? When I'm lucky enough to have the time to travel, I always throw my running shoes in because I love being able to see a new city or a new place and kind of get a different feel of where I am. So find things that can make it fun for you, add those in. That could be also like a fun race that you want to do, or you wear fun outfits for it. I just recently was at this race, I didn't participate, where everyone was dressed in like retro gear. And so we had a lot of 70s and 80s and 90s. Can you find runs like that where about just getting out and using your body and enjoying the people around you? So I'm just going to briefly bring you through kind of an example beginner plan that I've built for someone before. This is built off of a 7-day cycle. This is an athlete who came to me doing a lot more of like strength training, CrossFit style training, but they really wanted to build up their running. But they weren't sure how to do it, and they just needed some help. And so in discussions with them, you know, they had enough of a base that we knew we could start at about 20 minutes. This is a little bit further into the training plan that I've built for them, but we started at about 25 minutes. And we were doing walk run intervals for a very long time. And those are some things that I would definitely recommend building in. So it's fine to walk. A lot of people walk in different races. And at any level. And so you can see in this schedule, so she's going to be running 3 out of the 7 days. So she was running Monday, Tuesday, on Wednesday, she had a rest day. Thursday, she was going to her CrossFit gym. Friday, we did another run. And then Saturday and Sunday, she was going to her CrossFit gym or resting. And so to just give you an idea of kind of how we build things out for her, this 40-minute run. Okay, so it says 40 minutes here. The details though, she did a 3-minute walking warm-up, right? Just to get her body loose. And then she was doing 4 rounds where she was running for 8 minutes and then walking for 2 minutes. We had started with basically 3 minutes on, 3 minutes running, 5 minutes walking. And so you can see over time, we kind of changed the amount of time that she was spending running versus walking. You can see here, and you know, she's like a lot of people who are just starting, like, I can't believe I just ran 3 miles, right? But this was built up over time. And you can just see kind of in her plan, we would alternate sometimes between 3 days a week and then 4 days a week, really what was sustainable for her, and making sure we're building her volume over time. So she's not getting injured. She was feeling encouraged with her running, and same thing. So you can see the next week, right? We went to a 2-minute walk warm up. And she was doing 5 by 6 minute run with 30-second walk. So this one was a little bit different, right? So the last workout that I showed you, she was going for 8 minutes. She was running, but she had a 2-minute walk rest. This one, we wanted to kind of see how much more continuous like running time can we put together. So the running blocks were shorter, but she had much less rest before we wanted to get back to running. So these are different ways that you can work through building your own run walk program. I'm going to tell you now.
And Kiersten, could I jump in with a quick question that goes in with what you're talking about right now? So Shannon was wondering, could the same schedule be used if you want to increase your walking distance and speed?
So if you wanted to increase the amount you're walking, absolutely. I mean, you can, even with walking, right? We can all manipulate our speed, right? So, you know, sometimes you're like, I'm power walking and then I'm back to my normal speed. I'm power walking. You could do it that way, you know, changing those intervals that way. And yes, the same schedule could be used if you want to build, you know, how long you can walk for. Absolutely. I see another question in here of like, what do I think of apps like the Couch to 5K? I think that's a great program. That program helps people kind of go through some of the things I've discussed today, where to prevent you from going out too hard, you know, too soon. So that app has had a lot of success with a lot of different people. I have never personally used it myself, but I've heard great things from it. Let me finish out this, and then I will definitely answer the other couple questions I see in here. Sorry. So this is a second example of a different athlete that I coach. You can see here, I've been working with them for about 3 years now. And so they usually will run 4 days of the week, you can see we're putting in those off days, and they also have strength training, right? So that'll be just usually a 30-minute workout that I'll provide for them, just again, to try and keep them healthy and keep their body in good shape as they build their running. Sometimes we'll add in different workouts like hills and stuff here. And so that's, that's totally fine to do. But as you can see, there's no one road to success, and it kind of changes, and different seasons of life will have us change kind of what our plan is. So again, just kind of in closure, setting yourself up for success, build your schedule, right? So think about what that schedule is, especially for those first 2 weeks. Start small, right? So again, commit yourself to something that you can do, right? You can go out for 5 minutes, good, get out for 5 minutes and do that 3 or 4 times this week, right? Grab a buddy. So find your friend, find your neighbor, find a coworker, and then make it fun. And the last thing I'll leave you with is just keep showing up, right? So it's easy to kind of get down on ourselves or feel like we can't be successful, but I just want you guys to remember, take it one day at a time, and you have to just keep showing up. So lace those shoes up and head out the door. I'll tell you from experience that it doesn't matter who you are. The hardest step is the first one out the door. So if you can take that step, that's the hardest one. And you want to just lace up and go. And then for anyone that needs to hear it, you can do this. So I know that you guys can do this. Take this information and run with it. So there's a question in here about how do I choose the best shoe for running? So research has actually showed us that the best shoe for running, particularly if we're thinking about a beginner running plan, is the one that feels the best on your feet. So my general recommendation is to go to a running store or, Dick's Sporting Goods if you can. Try on a bunch of different shoes. Usually they have a treadmill there. Run on the treadmill and honestly, pick which one feels the best to you. That's the best shoe for you. The other side note that I will tell you is that if they feel overpriced, you can always write down what model it is and then go home and look for last year's model, which is usually just a different color. And maybe you can get the shoes for a little bit cheaper. So little pro trick there, but there isn't necessarily just one best shoe for someone. Brianna has a question about proper breathing technique when you're running, different types of things. Yeah, breathing through the nose and out of the nose, in the nose and out the mouth. So there are a couple different ways. A lot of people will try the breathing through the nose and out through the mouth. I would say that's definitely a technique that you can get into. I would say that there's not a one specific breathing technique. A lot of times the in through the nose, out through the mouth can help. What I would say is think about like a 2-second in, hold for a second, and then 2-second out. So some people will call that like a 2-1-2 breathing program. That's something you can definitely get into, and you'll just have to play around with like what feels best for you. So again, in through your nose, hold it for a second, and then out through your mouth is what I would start with. And then just play around with, maybe you have to add a second here or there. Correct running form. So everyone's going to have a little bit of a different running technique. I would say on average, you're going to find that you want people to land more on like the mid foot. So you generally don't want to be running and landing on your toe. And sometimes if you land on your heel, it can provide kind of more of a braking force. So generally speaking, we want people to kind of land on their midfoot. I will say, that being said, there are sometimes people who will run the way as I just described, either a heel strike or a toe strike. Sometimes if you know that you run that way and maybe you've tried some corrective exercises or different changes in your cadence, so how many steps you're taking per minute, and you haven't seen kind of a change, you can go see, a physical therapist who can maybe just provide you with an understanding of what areas of the body you may want to strengthen, right? Because if we land on our heel, we're going to put more stress on a certain part of our body. So how can we strengthen up different areas that are maybe going to be impacted by that to do our best to limit the chance that we're getting injured? Someone asks, is it harmful to complete strength training on the same days as running? Absolutely not. Totally fine for you to do that. If you get more into the nitty gritty of that stuff, people will discuss like when the optimal time to do strength training is. I would say for beginners, it's not harmful to do it on the same day. And if you're getting them both done, then that's great. If you start moving into, you want to focus more on just running, then I would prioritize the run, meaning do the run and then do the strength training. How often should you change your shoes? A little bit of it depends on the shoes, but generally speaking, people say about 500 miles. So if you can get through 400, 500 miles on a pair of shoes, They should, kind of hit the hay and get a new pair. You'll hear different things about people say, rotate your shoes. There's definitely no need to rotate your shoes. If you have the ability to do so, it's not going to be harmful. It's also not harmful if you just have one pair of shoes. I don't rotate shoes and been running for a long time. What if I can't run and hold a conversation? That's okay. I know I talked about that as far as like the talk test. What I would do is just consider like how maybe your breathing feels. So if you can't hold a conversation, that's okay. Think about how your breathing is feeling during the run. And then over time, maybe is that breathing becoming a little bit easier as you're going, the same pace or the same distance. And that's going to take some time as well, but it's perfectly fine if you can't run and hold a conversation. Last question from Kenyatta, what can I do to strengthen your knees? Guys are open a lot of Pandora's boxes for me today. I like it. The easy one would be anything that's going to do a knee extension. So kicking your leg out. That's the way that you can kind of isolate your quad. Generally speaking, that's going to be something that really impacts your knee pain. But if you think more different exercises that you can do, squats, lunges in different directions, wall sits, different leg kicks out to the side. There's a lot of different things that you can do to support kind of the musculature that's around the knee, and that can help. Calf raises are another good one, right? The calves are really important for walking and running, just providing us with a lot of that power and push off. So kind of if you can think about strengthening all the muscles like above and below the knee. So basically I'm telling you, your whole leg, that's going to be helpful for kind of overall, but I would look into, your quad and just getting some of those isolated knee extensions in to really make sure that you can isolate those quads. Brianna, try working on high knees and butt kicks, lazy feet. Brianna, a little bit hard for me to answer just without kind of seeing a video. I would say the high knees and butt kicks are good as like a drill and a warm up to kind of get your body going. So talk about kind of the connection with the central nervous system. But as high as your knees are getting in high knees, we don't want to be running with our knees that high. Generally, if we're going kind of at just an easy casual run. So I would consider not really lifting your feet up. So you could think about it like throughout the run and see if maybe that helps you where you're not focusing on it like every single step, but once every couple minutes, you're like, oh, like, let me just see if I can like lift my feet up a little bit more. And maybe over time, that'll kind of help you build that. I appreciate, being able to talk to you guys today. And thank you so much for all the great questions.
Thank you so much, Kiersten. That was great information about how to get started if you're really just starting a running program.